Hey everybody, Brandy here doing my comments from my stamping studio today. Today I'm really excited to share with you a card that I made for an upcoming card swap that I have with my group that is called Card Makers Card Swap. And the card that we're going to make today is this card. It's really hard to see with my light here, but I'm going to kind of go back and forth and see if I can put it up a little bit closer. Maybe you can see it better. But it is made with a foiling technique as well as some distressed ink and some really pretty pattern paper from Adornit.com. I'm going to show you all the techniques that I created this card, and this sentiment actually is something that I created myself, so I'm going to show you at the end of this video how you can download that for yourself and create that same foiling technique. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so the technique that we're going to be utilizing today is a foiling technique. So what we want to do is actually download the PDF that I will have a link to in the description box. And you're going to download the PDF and just open it up with your regular Adobe Acrobat Reader, or if you've got the Adobe Pro like I do right here. And then you're just going to basically print it. When you open up the print dialog box, make sure that you have chosen the actual size button. We don't want to choose the fit size, because then it's going to mess up the measurements when you go to cut the cardstock. I should mention right now that the cardstock that I'm using to print out the sentiment is Neenah Solar White 80 pound. Definitely want to make sure you're using an 80 pound or test out your printer to see if it will print this. And you are going to want to print it in a laser printer so it can lay down toner. We want toner. And so what basically you're seeing here is that I'm cutting the cardstock into fours, and that's basically at the 5.5 line, and then turning it around and then cutting it at the 4 1/4 line. So basically cutting a full sheet of paper into 4 different pieces of card. The trimmer that I'm using right here is a rotary trimmer by Carl. It is a 12-inch paper cutter, and it is really great for cutting down cardstock. I'll post a link down below where you can get it. The next thing we're going to do is prepare the stencil. I've got some Pixie spray here, and I'm spraying down my stencil. And you'll notice that there is a little bit of a black tick on there. I usually put that on my stencils to make sure I remember which side I've been spraying the adhesive on. So that's just a little pro tip there. Now I'm going to be putting the stencil right on top of the cardstock. I'm going to use some Distressed Oxides Spun Silk. I've got some blending brushes here. This is not the life-changing blender brushes, but something that I picked up at Amazon. Just some makeup brushes, and they work just as well. I'll send a link down below on where you can pick the ones that I am using here. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend all the way around the card. I want to avoid getting any ink over the toner. If I do that, it's going to cause problems later on when I go to foil the card. The other thing you'll notice is that I like to ink up my brush and then put some ink on the glass media mat that I'm using. And that way, when I go to blend onto the paper, I'm not depositing a lot of ink in one spot. And so I just sort of kind of do some circle motions on the glass media mat and then work my way into the card. But I'm trying to be very careful about not going into where that toner is, because I want that toner completely exposed when I go to put the foil on it, and I'll be showing that in a little bit. Spend some time and just be careful with your blending. I'm just wanting to create a kind of a soft effect here, getting the ink around the sentiment, making it darker towards the edges of the paper and lighter as I come in. The effect I'm trying to go for is to try to kind of highlight that area with more of the white cardstock showing through right around the sentiment. And I'm making it a little bit darker around the edges. I'm basically trying to give it a vignette look. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to pull that stencil up, and it's going to show the design underneath it. And you can kind of see how when I left that white space around the sentiment, it kind of highlights where that sentiment is. And don't worry about the line, the sharp line towards the bottom of the card, because we're going to cut this off with a special die. I want to apologize for the auto-focusing on my webcam. It's a fairly new webcam and I haven't quite figured it all out, but as I was recording or editing this video, I did find the settings, so hopefully my next video won't have all this in and out zooming. So basically I'm just going to use, this is a die, a creative edge die from My Favorite Things, and I'm going to run that through the Big Shot. And so then I'm left with the top half of our card. And I've got my purple cardstock behind it, and I want to create another layer of that same scalloped edge, that same scalloped stitched edge right there. And I'm just trying to line it up with the purple cardstock, and I'm trying to make sure I get that die positioned the same way that I've got the top part of that card. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and make sure I've got evenly spaced on the sides. This part can be a little bit difficult, but just as long as you get close enough, that's fine. Because we left the paper a little bit larger than what we're actually going to cut it down to, you can always trim off the paper, which is what I'm going to show you next. And so as I line this up, I see that I'm not exactly lined up even, but that's okay. I am going to fix that. The foils that we're going to use today is from Gina K, Thermoweb, and I've got my little pocket folder here where I have got all my foils stored, and I've made a little label there so it's easy to store. I love this pocket with the little Ziploc there. It makes it so easy to store my foils. I'm just going to cut off a piece of the Wild Lilac foil. I think it really matches well with the pink and the spun sugar. I'm going to just cut off a piece just large enough to cover the entire area of the sentiment, and I'm just trying to figure out which piece I want to, and that one was not quite big enough, so I'm going to use this one. The laminator that we're going to use today is the Royal Sovereign. It's a fairly inexpensive laminator, and I just picked this one up from Amazon. I'll post a link down below where you can get one. What you're going to want to do is place your piece of paper and down inside a transfer sheet. In this case, I'm just using a piece of typing paper, and you're putting the foil right on to that toner and then just basically placing it in the toner sheet and letting it go through. I will say that you need to make sure that you have your laminator nice and hot. I would say have it heat up at least 20 minutes before applying the foil to the paper. And the other thing I wanted to point out to you is that you want to make sure that you put this through with the transfer sheet folded inside. So for example, you want to make sure that that folded side goes in first. Do not do it this way, otherwise you're going to jam up your laminator. Trust me, I learned that the hard way. Alright, and so once it comes out, all you have to do is peel back the foil, and you can see how that foil came off, and I'm just going to kind of move it back and forth so you can see how shiny it is, and I really think that purple goes well with that pink color. And I was going with a pastel palette because our card swap this month was thinking of you and doing some sort of pastel color theme. So because the cards does not line up directly, what I want to do is go ahead and adhere the top part to that purple card, and I want to line up that scallop edge to make sure that is even. The glue that I'm using is the Fawn glue tube, and I love it because it is repositionable. So as I place my card down, I'm just going to move it around until I get those scalloped edges lined up, and then give it a nice little press. And then I'm going to pull out my paper trimmer. Now, if you'll see down there that the scallops are all nice lined up, but it's not lined up at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. I'm going to use my Tim Holtz paper cutter here. And I'm basically just going to put in that paper, and I'm going to line it up with the white cardstock that we blended ink on it. And then I'm just going to give it just a straight cut. So I want a straight cut to start, and so I've got that all lined up. And now what I want to do is trim off those edges. And so with the straight part at the top, so I have that guide, then I'm going to trim it up. Now, this paper, when we originally started, was 5.5 by 4.25, and so now I want to trim this down, so it's going to be 4 inches wide. And so I'm just going to be trimming it up and making sure that I've got that nice and trim and flush. There was a little bit of extra foil on the card, so I'm using my mono eraser there just to kind of tap off that extra foil that went down in the wrong spot. I'm using that gray side of that double-sided eraser. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to layer that card front that we've created, that a layered card, and we're going to put it on a piece of cardstock to help layer up the layered part that we've created, and then I've got that little piece of pattern paper underneath. Basically that bottom sheet, I guess you could say, is basically a base for us to build it all up. So I'm going to use the Lawn Fawn glue again and just put some on the back of that pattern paper. I'm going to lay that down on the cardstock right there, and it should line up pretty good. Then I'm going to take that piece of card that we have created and place that on top, and I'm going to use some heavier adhesive for this. This is Tombo's Extreme Adhesive Runner. Actually, it was a Stampin' Up product called Fast Fuse that Tombow made for them, but Stampin' Up doesn't sell it anymore. I still have the original container, but I actually purchased my refills from Amazon. And then I'm just going to line this up, and I'm going to be very careful because that adhesive, that tape adhesive, is very strong, and once you get it down, you're not going to be able to get it up. And look at that. Isn't it pretty? Let me see if I can get the light to shine on that foil a little bit, but I think it's really nice. Now, I've used the Hero Arts lavender paper there to do the card base. I love this cardstock. It's very sturdy, and I love the colors that it comes in. I used the same color when I was layering up that card front for the card base. Again, I'm going to be using some of the Tombow Extreme tape runner here just to make sure that it stays on to the card base. Again, I'm going to be very careful when I place this down and make sure that I line it up just so. I'm going to kind of get that a little bit closer for you to see. Isn't that pretty? Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is bling it up, and I am using Honeybee Stamps Aurora Lights Confetti Mix. And I'm going to be using, again, the Lawn Fawn glue and my little jewel picker here. I love this jewel picker, especially that skinny side. There's a larger side here that you can also use for bigger things, but I find for the confetti mix that the smaller picker is a lot easier. I usually like to put my sequins or my bling on the card first so I can kind of position where I want them before I lay it down, because then sometimes I get something that I don't like and I want to move it somewhere else or whatever. So I think that this process works for me, and I can decide which size of the confetti mix that I want to place down. I love this confetti mix. It was something that I picked up for Black Friday. I've got a whole video showing what I picked up from a Black Friday sale, so you can take a look at that. I'll put a link down below for you to check that out. And so once I've decided where I want all of the sequins, I'm just going to put a little tiny piece of that Lawn Fawn glue down, and then use my jewel picker to pick up the sequins and put it back down right there on the glue. The good thing about this glue is that if I did get it over a little bit too much, it does dry clear, so you won't be able to tell. It's kind of hard to tell in this light on video the foil and how it shines, but trust me, it looks gorgeous in person. And even photographing this card was a little bit difficult to give you the full effect, but foiling is one of my new favorite techniques, and I'm so excited. So let me see if I can get this a little bit closer for you and kind of turn it from side to side and see if you can see that foil. I hope you found this video to be helpful, and I hope that I've inspired you to create your own pastel Thinking of You card, and I hope I've also inspired you to join our Card Makers Card Swap. I'll be posting a link down below where you can join that group and participate in our monthly swap. We do a monthly swap with different themes, so please do check out the link below and get signed up to participate in our next swap. As promised, I'm going to share with you where you can download the free PDF of my sentiment here, Thinking of You. It's a free PDF download, and I will post the link down below where you can get that for yourself. I would really love to see what you create, so please do hit me up on Facebook or Instagram with your own creations. Don't forget, if you thought this video was helpful, please do me a big favor and give me a big thumbs up. And also, do hit that bell and subscribe so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Alright, life happens, I comment, stamp me some love, and I'll see you in the next video.